Solo Flashpoints. Lots of new players are doing them for story and fun for the first time lately. So we pull in a guild member, officer, and AIE podcaster, Tetsemi, to help talk tips for getting it done. That and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 381. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
It's going great. I'm glad we had Tetsemi on the show with us today, because since Tets plays and then goes away and then plays and then goes away, it's like his perspective is continually new, whereas ours gets like jaded and built up over time. So we don't always know what a new person is experiencing. So this will be good. But this week also for MFN we did Karaga's Palace, which by the way we also did on our ops team tonight. I think it's because it was because it was a Galactic Seasons weekly priority target, but also we were down a healer, so I think that's why we went in story mode. Would you say?
We did. Well, we're gonna do it as quick as just a super fast run through. Get it done in 20-25 minutes, so that we could do other things, like Nightmare Nephra, which we did.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that part of the decision.
And we were. Yeah, right. You weren't there.
We were down a healer because I was up most of the night last night, and so I was like right before, about a couple hours before ops, I was like deciding between like, should I make coffee? Should I take a quick nap? And I decided I was going to take a quick nap and then make coffee, but it turned into a long nap. So yes, I missed like the first half hour of ops, and when I woke up, I was like, "What day is it?" It was just one of those hard sleeps.
But because we've got Seema's back, we also knew that Seema's least favorite fight in the whole game is the first boss of Karaga's Palace. So we said, we're going to do it anyway. Why don't we go in there? Even if you were going to come back right away and we were going to do something else first, we figured we would get a lockout that was past the Rancor. Just for you, Seema.
That was, yes. I thank you. That's awesome.
Seema hates that boss. Just so everybody
I don't
knows.
like it. Although in recent years, it's better because it's like just easier. The way it's tuned now is just way easier. But so the things I hate about it are minimized. I still hate them, but they're not just minimized. Anyway, so we did that, and then after that we did Master Mode Nephra, which is what we do sometimes at the end of the night when we don't have time to go do another whole operation or another something. So that was fun. We had Albus with us, and I don't think he had ever done it. He said he had never done it on Nightmare, so that's always cool. And then we had even more time after that, so we went and ran TC for tech fragments, basically. And I mean, I don't know. I have a thing about going to Taboro's Courtyard. I always think it's a good idea. I don't know why. Just like someone mentions it, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Well, tech frags are tech frags.
Yep.
And
this week I've been sort of focusing on Galactic Season. Well, I'm focusing and not focusing, but I've still got to like one eye on Conquest. And I started a new Sage last week, so I played through Tython on her. Her name is Seema Sage.
Oh, you started a new Sage just last week? What for? Just for fun?
Well, it was going to be to stand on that one.
Oh, right.
What are those things called that you jump and find?
Datacron.
Datacron.
You mark it as a permanent Datacron placeholder, right, so you could summon guild members to it anytime we needed it. But you need a class ship to get the summon.
So I sat down one night and went through Tython, but I haven't done Coruscant yet, which I like Coruscant. I don't know why. Anyway. But her name is Seema Sage, and like when I'm playing her, I'm like going, Seema Sage, Seema Sage.
Sounds good.
Anyway, so I'll stop talking now because we have Tets with us. So, Tets, how has your week been?
Busy, very busy actually. I am also Galactic Seasoning. I'm about halfway between you and Max. So
in attitude.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like, those match up. Oh, I haven't tried that before. okay, I've done that before. I'm just gonna let that one rest. Like
Hmm.
the last week, one of the weeklies I had was an operation, and I was like, yeah, I'll just skip those, those points. I can make those up later on. That's not a big deal. But it's interesting because I have 10 75s that I've been working through Conquest. And basically, I will log in, look at the dailies, and say, okay, what do I need to do? And just start each character through until they hit Conquest. And then if the daily's not done, I'll switch to another character and, go along that. Like the kill 75, if I,
Hmm.
end up on Osis and I have to kill insectoids, it's like, okay, where do I go on Osis? Oh, let me go pick up the do 5 while I'm at it and
Yeah.
burn that. So there's a variety, like, you get the unranked Warzone, and I don't do a lot of PvP, but it's fun. So I throw a character and say, let's go PvP on this character. So it's good. But I've also been taking a new trooper through story mode, and I'm on one of my favorite planets in the story mode, which is Balmora, because I love Balmora. I love how open it is. I love the story on Balmora. I love the
Interesting.
arms factory. It's the
Bugtown. You like
Yeah,
Bugtown?
it's exactly. It's the exact opposite of oh, what's the final one you go to? The city one where if you want to go left, you have to go right
Oh,
5 times.
Corellia.
Corellia, yeah. Balmora is the exact opposite of Corellia for me. Like I can find my way around Balmora, no problem. I love the look and feel of it. It's just a fun planet.
Cool, cool. Yeah,
Yep.
it is
So
a good
that's
one.
what I've been up to.
Well, thanks for asking. I'm I'll tell you now what I've been up to. Thanks.
Hey Max, what have you been up to?
Thanks. Thanks. Oh, hey. Well,
Sorry, there's a little delay there.
I, for whatever reason, oh, I know why. I was on a conference call and a little bit bored, and I decided I have the best in slot set for many of the advanced classes sitting in my legacy storage, all lined up. I've got all the pieces. A couple, I think I might have just one more set of the 8 or so best in slot sets that I don't have complete. I've never bothered to fill them in with mods. I decided today that I was going to do that. So I had a couple of my characters out. I've been hanging around on my gunslinger quite a bit because my gunslinger is my arms tech who's been making a whole bunch of augments lately. For whatever reason, I just got the bug to make more money because money. And I decided that I was going to fill that out. I also changed spec for both my sniper and my gunslinger to virulence and dirty fighting. Thank you, Merlin. Great guide, of course, as always, letting me know what I should be doing, what the rotations looks like, which is pretty interesting for virulence. Yeah, so that was fun to do. And then I filled out with pretty good, not min max, but pretty good, at least armoring mod and enhancement, full, full 110 accuracy, 1.4 GCD alacrity. Here we go, some stat talk, and and pretty good mods and crit on top of that. So it is all set up now. In theory, I don't play gunslinger or sniper all that much, but in theory, I could now. And the only thing I'm missing is a tactical, so I'm going to do that. Also this week, yes, I have been continuing my path of the completionist of galactic seasons, do everything that they tell me to do until I get sick of it. And then my challenge is the experiment for science is to see when I get sick of it. And so far I have not gotten completely sick of it, but close. It's getting there. We'll see where it ends up. But I did enough. I'm also, just because I got that whole conquest thing, I do what you said, Tats, is I switch characters. So I'm also sort of optimizing conquest as I go along. By the end of the week, I did have 2 or 3 characters that were only halfway done that I pushed to completion and ended up with 19 characters that hit their personal conquest target. So doing all the
19?
things of Galactic Seasons is a lot of stuff. So I mean, it was just MFN our regular ops night, and then the stuff that I did. Now, for my weekly, I was also doing the Galactic Starfighter. With GSF, you can get a lot of, I can get 5 characters to Conquest just off of playing, 6 or so GSF matches.
Right.
So is that kind of thing is thrown into the mix there. But yeah, so it's a ton. It was over 2 million Conquest points across those 19 characters. And I've done every single daily and weekly Galactic Seasons objective, including one, but only one, that I completed it, but it didn't count. So I did run into one of the bugs one day last week. It was the Rishi one, where you do the Rishi. It says do Rishi dailies, but on the right side it says Section X, and no matter what I did, Section X or Rishi or whatever, there was some tricks to try that did work for some people, didn't work for me, and I just didn't get it completed. That was a little bit frustrating, but that was fixed in some of the updates which came this week, which we are about to talk about in the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first up in the news, the maintenance was moved. It was moved to Monday, and then even when they started the maintenance update on Monday, it was extended a little bit. Monday was weird with the maintenance and the server down on Monday. All that time, it was making me think it was Tuesday, and then I got real sad when I realized it was still only Monday.
Friday was still a long ways away, right?
Yes. We did get the patch notes, though, even before we got the patch notes last week. This was a bug fix, mostly for Galactic Seasons, but a couple other things are thrown in there. It's the first thing up on SWTOR.com/patch notes if you still want to go through and look at what was happening in there. Almost all of it's Galactic Seasons, and it's not all that much, but it was some of the things that we were looking to get fixed, like the problem that I talked about with Rishi and Section X and the crossover there. So a little better.
There was there's another fix, which was a hot fix this week, because some people were only getting one weekly priority objective. And so when they report, I mean, if you look at Dev Tracker, you see the post that the community team made when it got fixed, when the hot fix went in. But earlier in the thread, I guess, if you go to like page 1 of that thread, that's where someone reports it and some other people agree, and then the community team says our team is an hour into that thread. The community team said, okay, we're looking at it, and then later on the thread they're like, okay, now there's a hot fix out. So that's all in the same thread. So that's kind of what we've been talking about from time to time, is like, yes, it's nice that the team is working on stuff and you report it to the team, but this was a really pointed example of the full circle. So
right,
that hot fix went in. So you should have 2 weekly priority objectives. If you don't, then it's still a problem.
And it was a hot fix it was server-side hot fix behind the scenes and did not even require a restart.
Right. It just
so there's no downtime.
Just took time to roll out, but yeah.
So they did it live.
They did it live. Yes, they did.
And that's about it in the SWTOR news, but we have a little guild and community news, as we tend to. This is our monthly schedule is still rocking. What are we up to now, Seema?
What are we up to? This is the second Friday of the month, so it'll be hard mode ops training with Marcus. That's what's going to happen tomorrow if you're listening to this on Thursday. If you're not, then it happened on Friday week. So that is really taken off, so people are looking forward to that. Check it out. There's a channel for it in our Discord, and that's where you sign up for it and find out what's going on.
As of this morning, there was still one open spot, I think, for an 8-man group. I imagine that's going to get filled up pretty quick. And that is designed for if you do story mode operations quite a bit and you wanted to just try out and see what hard mode ops sort of felt like. That's what Marcus has arranged. Once a month, second Friday of the month. That's kind of cool.
There's a pretty good gap between story mode and vet mode in this game, so it's definitely worth checking out.
As we've been talking about in the last 3 or 4, we did 4 episodes in the last 5 or 6 weeks, all talking about vet modes and how they work. in the next couple of weeks, we may do one coda episode to that series that talks about just a little bit on master mode and just what you need to expect and what might happen if you do get into master mode progression. But yep, our weekly schedule then, first Fridays is Flashpoint groups. Second is the hard mode ops group. Third is the achievements group, third Friday. Fourth Friday is Mega with Marcus. Mega is our monthly Epic Guild activity. It's a little bigger, just open sort of fun night. And then if there is a fifth Friday, it is an open, free, fun, wild card, do whatever you want kind of night.
And this month for Mega, we're doing Where in the World is SEMA San Diego?
That is correct. Yes, we are. And speaking of Balmora, that was the location. It ended up being the hidden location where SEMA had been captured by Grandfather, the world boss, on Balmora last round that we did Where in the World is SEMA San Diego. If you're not familiar with that, that is a made-up, player-made event where we sort of do a hunt with clues and multiple pit stops around the galaxy as we try to find where SEMA has been hidden or captured or is hiding from us or whatever the case may be.
And Marcus and Lucy and
Tabby
are working on as we speak.
Which should be awesome. The rest of AIE is still going strong, of course. Things are cooking. It sounds like we might be having a motor fight in Valheim next Wednesday. Well, Tets, you gonna come do that? You gonna come fight motor with us? You need.
I may do that. Yes.
You need a wolf cloak at least, or
yeah,
you get you a stack of
that
frost
as a deer
potions.
cloak. So
because you have to have the frost protection to go into the mountains. But we've got stuff.
Oh, that would explain why I'm freezing. Anyway.
Oh, well, there we go. We've got stuff going on across all the divisions, including one of the divisions in particular, which is a little bit smaller, but people are having fun in there. It's got a big event coming up at the end of this month, 1st of June. What is that, Tats? Because one of your primary responsibilities is Blizzard and WoW. What's coming up?
They are launching Burning Crusade Classic. The pre-patch is coming up on the 18th, so 5 days from now. And then the game will go live on the second, worldwide launch. So
yep, June 1st/2nd. Our guild was Hordeside Pagel. It has moved to Mankrik Hordeside because Mankrik is super, super populated. The cities are filled. There's groups going on all the time. I heard, so Bach is one of our officers who's been raiding consistently every week. He's on a progression raid team in WoW Classic. More teams, more raid teams, more raid teams killed the final boss of whatever they were doing, progression Nax or whatever. Yeah, I guess Nax. More raid teams cleared Nax on Mankrik than did in all of WoW Classic in the old days.
That's not surprising. Yeah.
So interesting stuff and fun for the guild. If you if you want to, I said do. If you want to do anything on Classic, come join us. Mankrik, the guild is already reformed there on Mankrik, and we will get you in. And there's always cool people there to help out and get you started up, even if you just want to roll a new character from scratch. Shout out to the chat room. We got a crowd of usual suspects in there. Tatsemi is in there. Marcus is in there. Sir Galahad, sorry, Saber. Hello, everybody. Glad to have you in there, and we will catch up with all of you more after the show. But now we want to get into our segment and talk about some solo stuff.
What's your name, son?
Hunt.
What? Who are your people?
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo. Approved.
Did you guys hear that bit of cinematic masterpiece?
No.
You couldn't hear it?
It cut off a little bit.
Oh, because I haven't opened my mic for you guys. Well, the chat room heard it, and that was the amazing scene where we learned the origin of Han Solo's name. Here, I'll play it again for you guys. It's only 10 seconds.
What's your name, son?
Han.
What? Who are your people?
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo. Approved.
Approved.
So yeah, that wasn't so what? That wasn't the most amazing cinematic element of that movie. Unfortunately, there were very few amazing cinematic moments. But I like that movie. I thought it was fun.
No, it was a fun movie.
Tons of it was just like fan service after fan service and memberberry after memberberry. But that's fine. That's fine. It was still fun. They could have been a little more original, but anyway, Solo. So we're talking about Solo stuff. So we are hanging out here on the fleet where all of these flashpoints are. What we're mostly talking about this for, just to kick it off and sort of introduce it, we have a lot of new players that are playing Star Wars right now. One of the great fun things to do is play through the story. If you're playing through the story right now and you're just, level up, play through, you're getting to some of the most recent flashpoints like Spirit of Vengeance and Secrets of the Enclave, that if you're doing it in 270 or even lower gear and not all that familiar with the mechanics, they're hard. And
Yep.
I think BioWare didn't, forgot that people might be coming into this, completely fresh. If you do any of the older ones along the way and you're getting the support droid and, you can just sort of do it as like a mission content. You can face roll through them, even with a leveling character who's naked. But you get a couple of those more recent flashpoints and you cannot. And you have companions, but you don't have that magical droid that kills everything for you. So people have been saying, I'm having trouble with this. I can't get through it. And, we're saying things like, well, did you use the heal stations? And they say, what's that? So we decided, why don't we outline some of the key tips for what it takes to get through them? And then these tips will also, and we'll talk about some of the differences, but these will also continue to be useful if you ever wanted to do some solo, a veteran mode flashpoint by yourself, or even a master mode flashpoint. They're a little bit harder to do these days, or maybe even not possible, but we've done them in the past, and that's what this is sort of designed for. Seema, you started out with a lot of these tips, and we're telling them to people in Guild as they were going into the content. Why don't you lead us off, and then we'll certainly ask Tets, because he's been encountering this lately as a player coming back to the game.
Well, first off, it took us a while to realize that if you're going through the story and the flashpoint you're trying to do is the so-called solo story or story solo, it literally cannot go into the flashpoint with them and help them. That took us a while to figure out, because we'd be like, well, no, click on this thing. You have to allow, and they would like, I'm telling you, I did click on it.
Right.
So yeah, that took us a while. But there's a few like simple things that can really turn the tide for you when you're in these. And those are some of the things that we're going to go through tonight. Like, you can do the missions, all the story missions along the way by just hitting a couple of abilities and putting your companion on heal. But once you get into this content that may not be tuned for you to be able to do that, there's a few things you can do. And the first sort of group of things, Max put this title on it, but it's control the fight. So first of all, everybody has an ability to CC mobs, and CC means crowd control. And it's an ability where you can lock down a mob usually for a minute. So for your class, find out what your control, your character control ability is, put it on a button that's fairly easy to get to. And then if you're looking at a room full of mobs, CC one of them before you start the fight.
Yeah, tank classes will not have this, but most
that's
DPSs and healers will. So like here for my mercenary, it's concussion missile. fires a missile, knocks them out for 60 seconds. And you can cast it again before that 60 seconds is up. So if it's taking you longer than 60 seconds and you got to still kill some other mobs, you can refresh it and just keep
It does go on
them locked down.
cooldown, so there's a little bit of a dance there.
But
yeah,
it's
like mine's whirlwind, and I have a 53.8 second cooldown on it.
Right. So it should. I think all of them come off cooldown before you would need to refresh.
Before it expires.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they do. It's not. Yeah. It's not like you have to precisely time it. But if you break it, like if you control something and then you accidentally break it, you can't control it until the cooldown's up.
Right.
But a really big thing is, I believe every class has an interrupt and a stun. And the idea behind these two things is you can take a mob that's casting something and interrupt their cast with the interrupt, or you can do the same thing with a stun. So you can really reduce the damage that's coming into your character if you stop a mob from casting it. So the really critical thing is to find out for your class what the interrupt is called and what the stun are called, and put them on buttons that are really easy for you to get to, and then have them in your mind. I mean, use them a lot even when you don't have to, just so that they're just sort of under your fingers and it's something that you resort to a lot. Don't save them for like a special ability or when you're first starting out. Just use them. Figure them out, use them all the time until they become second nature, because that's really going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do is, and we'll get on to this, but including interrupt and stun, some of your abilities have a chance to stun. Like I have an AoE ability, and I have a 33% chance to stun weakened or weak or standard targets. So those help when you're fighting a large group of mobs.
And that's what the Sweeping Blasters does. That Death from Above knocks the mobs down in an AoE. This is a great. Stuns are something that all tanks have, and they have two. They have an individual stun, they have an interrupt, they have a single mob stun, and they have an AoE stun. That's really fun, because you can then drop a stun in where you're stunning eight mobs all at once, and that so great tools to have at your fingertips. I always have both. You can see here I've got my interrupt and my stun. I just had it swapped out for my cure, which is my cleanse, which Simo will talk about in a second too. Those I always have right there, where my index finger is able to pop it, pop them in the mouth. You
know who else has a stun? I mean, stun.
Who?
Your companion.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about micromanaging here. It's like your companion will almost always stun first as their first thing. They'll stun the mob. And so a lot of times, if you're looking at a group and you want to do your AoE stun ability, like Tats was talking about from your AoE, if you send your companion in first, then they'll gather up around your companion, and then you can AoE them together instead of starting your AoE and then they all run towards you.
Absolutely.
So you just said a thing there, though, and if you really want to get trickier, if you're doing something really, really difficult, micromanage. You can make that stun non-automatic. You can right-click it on your companion's bar so that they aren't casting it automatically, and you could cast it. In fact, you could keybind that cast. So change it to your stun is on 6, and the companion's is control 6. You can use their stun as part of your rotation if you really wanted to. There are mobs, sometime, once in a while you'll run into a mob that's unshakable, and they'll have a buff on them. Even before you start the fight, you can click on the boss or whatever you're fighting that you won't be able to stun or won't be able to be CC'd. They will have buffs on them that explain that before you start the fight. So keep an eye out for that. Most of the regular flashpoints, most everything is stunnable, especially in the trash packs. Many of the bosses are not, though, so not CCable. Some of them still might be interruptible or stunnable, but most are not CCable.
Right. Then another thing you can do, still under control of the fight, and this is really underrated, I think, which is because you're in there by yourself. If you are getting shot by like 5 different mobs, you can run around behind something and cast a quick heal. It'll take them a few seconds to get in line of sight of you so they can start shooting again. And that is sometimes a lifesaver as well.
So you're saying
It's
you're
also
just
a good way to group them up so you can AoE them.
There you go. That's right.
So you're saying you're on your Sork, you would just line of sight, heal to full, and make them pay, Seema? Is that,
Yes,
is that what
right.
you're saying? Ah,
Right. That's
fascinating.
I wonder how many people remember that, but that was famous.
Fascinating.
Yes, yes. And then the last thing, and this is, you know, maybe yes, maybe no, but if you have stealth, if your character has stealth, you can sometimes skip whole packs of mobs.
Okay,
And
in the
that's
intro, when I said of those 19 characters and me pulling characters out of my DVL backbench that have been on hibernation, all the stealth, every stealth
yes,
class,
yes.
because of Seema's. So look up the podcast episode. Go back a few months. It's called "What Seema Does in the Shadows," and she talks all about all of her tips and tricks for getting heroics done, like kind of instantly with stealth characters. And you can do a ton of this in Flashpoints. You can even do this in Master Mode Flashpoints with 4 people who stealth and like bypassed like 2/3 of the Flashpoint with a group in some really interesting ways. It gets hilarious. So yeah, that's a good one.
One thing you have to watch out for, especially in the newer Flashpoints, especially the Mandalorian one, it is not obvious which mobs or which environmental areas break stealth.
That's a great point.
Because like when you go through and you hit the first ship, those hounds will break your stealth regardless. It doesn't matter how careful you are, how far away you think they are, they will get on you. You get on the second ship, you can move through the entire second ship stealth and only come out of stealth when you interact with stuff. You get to the third ship, and I have no idea, but there is one of the mob types in the trash packs that will always unstealth you. So just be careful. Don't rely on it.
And we'll probably see more of that in the future because they don't like us skipping stuff.
Yeah. In World of Warcraft, there's a little icon that hovers over mobs. Once you go into stealth, it'll pop up. It looks sort of like an eye that's above the nameplate of mobs that can see you when you're in stealth. Star Wars doesn't have anything like that. It would be nice if they did.
Well, it kind of does because the robots that do the scanning circle, those are obvious. Yeah, you can see that, but you're right. The other mobs,
stealth scan.
Yeah.
Do my stealth scan here.
The other mobs, it's craps.
The other fun thing about stealth characters is they have a CC that will not engage any mobs in combat. So you can go into stealth.
Sleep dart.
You can sleep. Yeah, you can sleep or mind trap a mob, and when they wake up, it's not like the whole group goes into combat or any of the other mobs who around them are aware of what happened. So if say you're near a console and there's one mob there's a group and one of them is just too close for you to use that console to click it and clear it for the objective. You can be in stealth, sleep the mob that's close, go to the console, come out of stealth, interact with the console, go back into stealth, and no one's the wiser.
So one thing I ran into, I don't actually know if this is still true, but there is a utility that you can select as a stealth character that does something to your target when they come out of being.
Yeah, there's a passive.
So
don't use that.
Don't use that, right? Because like you'll be like 3 packs ahead, and all of a sudden you're in combat, and I'm like, what?
What a terrible idea! Yeah, wow, that's you'll have like the whole back half of the Flashpoint, suddenly running through to chase you down. That's
maybe it's useful in PvP, but for PvE, it'll work against you.
Interesting. Interesting. There's a couple like that. You got to watch those utilities. We joke about this all the time. There's a utility for the sniper gunslinger that makes the last shot of your series of shots, one of your abilities that's sort of like a channeled shot, do a big knockback. And people will take that utility because it seems like a nice utility. And if you're soloing, it's very nice, but it's a real pain in a group. And you got a tank and you got a group and everything's grouped up and the tank's trying to tank a mob and you got somebody out of a group of 16 people and you don't know who that keeps knocking back the mobs.
Knock them right out of the AoE.
And nobody, even the person who took that utility doesn't know what it is because it's sort of like buried down in the tooltip of the utility potentially. So they might not even realized what they did. We've run into that multiple times, and we'll like track down which sniper it is and say, check your utility. No, I don't. I'm not knocking back. Well, you are. You don't mean to, but you are. We need that to stop. Okay, what's next, Seema? Stay alive. Staying alive.
Staying alive. If your class has self heals, don't forget you can use that. In boss fights, there are very often healing stations, which are lit up like a quest item, but if you just run over them, they'll heal you and your companion, everyone in the room, really, that's on your side. So if it's one of those flashpoints where you have two companions, they'll both get healing as well as you.
Yeah, those blue things are not lore objects, and they won't summon Trapjaw. But the big, we sort of mentioned this in the intro. The big issue with those is they don't work like anything else in the game. You have to run over the top of them to get healed. So like don't walk up to it and click on it, which I still keep doing every time I forget. That it bugs me.
And I know we're talking solo, but if you're in a group in a flashpoint, just make sure that you don't waste, like two of them by two characters running over them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That really helps to be in voice, and then we'll often coordinate it. Someone will stand near one, and we'll rotate through, and then say, okay, well I'm ready to do mine. Let me know when we need it, and then that person just steps to the right, walks over it, and.
I mean, I know for me personally, I love it when I've just done a big healing cooldown and then two different people walk over healing stations.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing.
And and then you have no heals, once everybody stands in the fire for the rest of the fight. And then the boss has got a big giant AoE coming out, and then you have no healing stations left. Yeah, that's good times.
And then there's two things coming that are also very underrated. One is don't forget about med packs because they can be your clutch thing. Just take to get just that little bit extra bit of health that you need to finish the fight. And then the last thing here is cleansing debuffs. If your class has a cleanse, you can use it to keep your debuffs low. You'll take less damage or be able to move faster or whatever. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end about setting up your UI for success so that you can even tell that you have a debuff on you. A debuff being something that is ticking away on you. It's either doing damage or it's slowing you down or it's preventing you from receiving healing or it's keeping your DPS low.
Right. Poison, fires, you're on fire. All of those kinds of things. Some of them will kill you, and it's sort of designed it's typically more of an operation effect, the ones that will kill you. But there are ones that you're guaranteed to die unless you're cleansing it appropriately as a group.
Not everything is cleansable, but it's always worth a try.
And I don't know you do have it further down. Never mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead because we should. I think you're going to say the same thing I was going to say.
I was going to say stims but you have it further down. But that adds to your overall base health typically, so you can take more damage.
Yeah, good point.
There's endurance as a component of every stim. So I've got here. Actually, I already used it, but it's on me. It doesn't say how much, but there's an endurance component of most stims. And then the other thing, which we'll also talk about, which does a whole bunch of things, but your heroic moment does healing on you as well. It's 2% of your maximum health every 3 seconds for 2 minutes, for 120 seconds. 2% of your health every 3 seconds for 120 seconds. So you basically get like an extra healer just showed up and just is going to continually be healing you. It's a big deal. And that's only one of the things that the heroic moment does. No, that's actually the main thing the heroic moment does. I'm thinking of something else.
No,
That's all
heroic
it
is
does.
pure damage. Yeah.
It doesn't buff your damage. I always thought it buffed your damage too. It is just the heal. Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
And is it just your health? Yeah, it's not even your
Yes.
companion's health.
Nope.
But there are other abilities. Well, then also in this category is Unity. So another companion ability that you might have is Unity, and Unity is it links you and your companion so that you both share the damage, reducing damage you both take by 50% for 15 seconds. And then, well, it says it unifies you and your companion through the force. I don't use Unity very often. Do you guys use Unity?
I use it all the time.
Well, there you go. And
I use it anytime there's a trash pack with 2 of the, I call them yellow asterisk mobs. So I guess those are, that's the other thing. Like,
there's elites.
Is it a champion mob?
Strongs, yeah, there's regular strongs, elites, and champions. Champions are the ones with the white and gold asterisk. The gold asterisk is an elite. The silver asterisk is a strong. And then there's the regulars.
Yeah. So the second one you mentioned, the elites. Typically, if I'm going to pull a pack that has 2 or 3 of those in, because even with a level 50 companion set to heal, if they're busy CCing or they've been stunned by one of the 3, your health can drop real quickly. So it helps as an opener. Like, if you just want to burn that pack down, I think it always helps to have that Unity running.
And the other thing that heroic moment gives you too is a couple of extra interrupts.
Yep.
So you can interrupt and stun, and then with heroic moment you can interrupt and interrupt again. So that's cool.
Galahard mentioned, this is another one I don't even have on my bar, and I think you just used it while we were standing here, Tats, and I was wondering what you did. Sacrifice, right?
Yep, I just did that. That will transfer if you have a companion now, it'll transfer the health of your companion to you.
Nice. Actually, cruel. The Unity and Sacrifice and Heroic Moment all have a long cooldown. They're all around 5 minutes or a little bit less. So use them at the appropriate time, but don't forget them and don't not use them, because then you did use them.
Don't save them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't save them. And I mean, we were going to...
Go ahead.
I was going to say we were going to mention this later, but if you sacrifice your companion and then they die, if your class has a battle res ability, then you can battle res your companion.
Yep.
Sure. And I think that's important. And I've needed that to get through some of the other, some of the various solo stuff that I've been doing in the past.
Well, yeah, because Unity and Heroic Moment both don't work unless you have an active companion.
That's right. That's right.
If your companion dies, you lose those 2 abilities.
Yeah.
And I almost always have on the hardest solo stuff I'm doing, I almost always have my companion on heals. And if my companion dies, I'm gonna die. So popping it up with a battle res, which is my ability right here, which is the onboard AED, which is if you have a healing off spec, then your class will have the ability to res in combat and out of combat. There's 2 kinds of reses. So one will say, like my revive is revive a defeated player. That only works out of combat. Then there's this onboard AED for mercenaries. It's just named different things, but it's your battle res. And what that means is that one's allowed to be used once every 4 or 5 minutes, allowed to be used in combat while you're still in combat, which is nice. All right, so that's staying alive, Seema. Let's talk about the companions a little bit more, though, since we got into it.
Oh, yeah. So there's so much about the companions, too. Like, first of all, almost the biggest difference you can make on all of this stuff is to rank up your companions in influence.
So dismiss your companion, Tetsumi. I'm gonna summon one of mine just so I can show it here on the stream. Show its bar and stuff too while we're talking. But I can't do it when yours is up. Cool.
So, yeah, as you raise the ranks of influence for your companion, they can heal better and DPS better, and it's by a pretty big margin. Like you can do
there's
things.
a huge difference.
Yeah.
So one of the problems with the story mode Flashpoint when we were doing the Mandalorian one was that companion was only rank 1. They bumped that companion to rank 25 so that it would heal you better and keep you alive longer.
Right.
That was a huge difference in making that survivable.
Big difference. And when you had people, if you want to get all the achievements to do all the chapters of Knights of the Fallen Empire and Knights of the Eternal Throne, for example, some of those you can't use your companion, you have to use the story companion. Often what people do for those is they will increase the influence level to 25 or even to 50 of Darth Malgus or not Darth Malgus, Darth
Hexed.
No, it's not Hexed. What's the guy who you start off with, who's Satil's boyfriend in the afterlife? Darth.
Oh, Mar.
Darth Mar. Thank you. Darth Mar. You have to do some of the stuff with Darth Mar, and you want to do like the master mode version of that chapter. You're gonna need to rank up Darth Mar.
One thing to be careful, they have limited giving companion gifts to temporary companions. So like the companion you use in the Vengeance Flashpoint is 25 and cannot be raised because they're a temporary companion and you can't give them gifts.
Some of them, and I think that may even have been the case with some of the older ones, but then there were ways to get the companion using the terminal in your Odessan stronghold so that you could have them as a companion and then rank them up and those kinds of things. But yeah, then that would be a challenge. That's really good then that they took that Darth. That's not Rivix. What was that guy's name from Spirit of Vengeance? What was the voice actor's name? Because you know the voice actor.
Gideon Emery.
Gideon Emery. Seema knows that guy's name like that. He is a cool dude, man. That Gideon Emery. So pushing that companion to 25 was a big deal, and that you're right. That was a big part of allowing people to be able to get through that his story.
One thing, if you go into, if you hit N to open up your companions and contacts and you click on a companion, it will tell you what the maximum rank is. So like if you, if you go to, if you open up the companion things, it'll say like rank 1 of 50. Whereas like if you go to, so just click on any of those max.
Yeah. So there's rank 1 of 50. Let me find one that's not though. Like, I wonder if I have.
Go down to your alliance contacts. Like,
I've got Darth Mar at 28 for whatever reason. Rivix is 1 of 25. Raz Ordo, that's who we're talking about.
That's the guy,
It's 25 of 25, and Satil Shan's 1 of 50. Why can I need Satil Shan as my buddy.
Or like if you go to Sana Ray or Hilo Viz.
Yeah, they all cap at 20.
They all cap at 20. So if you get in the mode of handing them, the run the heroic, turn in the gift, you're not going to get him. Once you hit 20, just send it to another character. It's not legacy wide.
You're not going to get the box anymore for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, wait, you still get the box, but you won't get the rep. I mean, you won't get the influencer conference.
Yeah, exactly.
Objective. Wow. Yes. Talking is hard.
Interesting.
I mean, requires sleep.
That's cool. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Here's where I'm showing down at the bar down here. When you have your companion summoned, they have their ability bar. The little green dot in the upper right of the ability is whether that ability is set to auto cast or not. So Dark Tempest is my Darth Hexed's ability that's on Control 7 to do her her CC. So if I right click it, now I've shut off that little green square, that little green marker in the upper right of that ability. Now she will not cast that unless I manually cast it. But now anytime I can hit Control 7, I can target a mob and hit Control 7 and use her ability as basically direct her to use her ability instantly. And that is a 10-second, and it's only 10 seconds, but it's a 10-second stun, and it can be used once every 30 seconds. So it's kind of cool.
I mean, you can do that to their AoE ability too, because if you're counting on you CCing a mob, typically the companions won't directly break CC won't directly break CC, but they can break it with their AoE.
Yeah, these days the AI has been mostly updated where they will not cast their AoE over CC characters. Back in the day, they used to all the time. In fact, as soon as you CC something, they would go and break it. What else with the companions? Because there's more here. Oh, why don't you talk about micromanagement? You mentioned micromanagement. Why don't you explain what you mean by that, Seema, and what that looks like?
This is not for everyone, but what I do with keybinds is I keybind the wheel on my mouse to be, when I roll it forward.
Did you just mute yourself by rolling your mouse forward? So what did you say? When you roll it forward, what?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now yes. I can hear you.
Oh, that's weird. I don't think I muted myself by doing that.
Your companion muted you when you rolled the mouse wheel forward.
When I roll the mouse wheel forward, it sends my companion in. When I roll it back, it puts them on passive and they come running back. So that's useful when you want to do things like we were talking about earlier, send your companion in first. And it's also just right under my finger, so it's easy to do. That's one way I tend to sort of micromanage. And that's good for if you notice that your companion is standing in fire and you would like them not to stand in fire.
Yes.
The thing though is once you pull them back to you that way, you got to remember to put them back in combat or they'll just stand there looking at you for the whole rest of the fight.
And won't heal you or do anything. Yeah.
Right.
And you'll be like dying and you'll be like looking at Darth Hexed going, well, what's up? She'll be like, you told me not to heal you. Oh, you're dead.
I mean, sort of in the same related area too. If you have rocket boost, you can use that to reset your companions all their cooldowns and heal them up.
Oh, right, because it counts as a mount.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like mounting up, and every time you mount up and dismount, then your companions' cooldowns are all reset, and their health is full again.
Now you can only do that out of combat, but still, that's can be quite useful and important, or even just insta mounting.
Right. Well, I mean, because I run around with Shay quite a bit, and I like it when her Death from Above is up.
Right.
That just makes everything go so quickly.
Great.
Yeah.
And I know for the Imperial Agent and the Jedi Shadow that have stealth, you can use rocket boots in stealth. So you can use your break combat ability to be in stealth, then use your rocket boots to get your companion back to full, and then either get away or re-engage.
That's right. Oh, that's so right. Nice. That's so evil. Yeah. I love my stealth character.
Now, for my companions, you just mentioned Shay Vizsla, and I've got Darth Hexed out right now. I typically rotate between Shay Vizsla and either Darth Hexed or Nico Okar. And what I'm doing there is sometimes I want a ranged companion, and sometimes I want a melee companion. If I'm playing on a melee character, I often want a melee companion that's going to be up close with me, and it makes it easier for me to manage them. If I just have, especially if I have a companion that's like DPS or tanking, if I just want a great healing companion that's also going to throw out some damage, like Shay Vizsla, having that at ranged can be much more effective. Either one of those, I use them in different ways, and I do what Seema just said of put it on passive so that it runs to me, and then set it back to active so it runs to whatever its target is, to have it be running out of fire or running out of some boss ability and then running back in and keeping it alive, doing some of the micromanagement that way. What are your favorite?
And I've also used it to like specifically say, hey, dummy, come punch this thing that I'm doing because we need to burn this particular mob down.
Yes. Focus
as
with me,
opposed,
companion. Yeah.
right. Focus with me, please.
Yes. Focus this target.
Right. Because your companion will pick their own target. They don't care what you're fighting sometimes. So that's
Exactly.
a good point.
Now, I mostly have my companions on healing as well. So that's the other thing you have to think about companions, right?
Yep.
Healing versus tanking versus DPSing. So why don't you go through that, Seema? And I almost always use healing. So I think I sometimes use DPS, but go ahead and talk about it.
I mostly always use DPS. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing. If you have a ranged companion and you put them on healing, they are less likely to stand in fire. It's just how it works out. So there's that. I like to use a DPS. My companion. I like to put my companion on DPS just because it just kills everything faster. And if we run into healing issues, I can do that part.
Right.
Right, because you're used to being the healer of stupid DPS. Sorry.
But yeah, so I have more control over it. Like your companion's going to cast their heals in a rotation, and I only heal if I can see that we need it. Otherwise, we're both DPSing, so it just goes quicker. To Max's point about ranged versus melee, I really like to have a melee character companion out if I'm going to be using a lot of heroic moment, because then the boss is not running around between us. It's like we're all in the same spot. And if I want to do like orbital
the orbital strike.
Yeah, orbital strike, thank you. It has the long cast and only you hate it when the mob runs out of it. Yeah. That's when I use a melee companion. When I first started playing this game, my very first serious character was a sage, and in those days you got Kaizen Fest and you had him forever, because you didn't get your second character until Nar Shaddaa, which is like Tython, Coruscant, Terrace, and then Nar Shaddaa. So fourth planet in.
About level 22, 23.
Yeah. And but I used to always set him on tank, and then I would send him in, and then I would heal him, and then AoE.
Mm-hmm.
But anymore today, I almost never put my companion on tank. It's either going to be DPS or healing. Yeah.
I used to always use a tank companion set to tank when I was using a DPS character with a backstab ability, because then I would want my companion to be tanking. So I would do this on my assassin
when I was leveling him. It's easy to get behind him.
Yeah. Then I could be behind and I could be stabbing him in the back, and then because then the companion would taunt and I could still stab him in the back. So that was a bigger deal. It's less of a deal nowadays because the way they have actually smoothed out the abilities in the rotation, so you don't, some of the backstab kind of abilities you can do in their face because there's cooldowns and procs and things like that. But it used to be a big problem with those kinds of, like an assassin especially. Back in the day, I think like assassin and operatives. Yes, Max is stabby. That's what they're saying in the chat room.
Yeah, I almost exclusively use all my companions on heals, mainly because I'm one of the most of my characters are AoE build characters, so it's just like, you heal me, I'll take care of them.
Yes, yes, I can totally see that. Yeah.
So where it gets interesting is in my trooper who's better at a single target. Then I do a little bit of micromanage, even if they're set to healer, of like, no, help me burn this thing down. Ignore those other things. Burn this one down.
I do.
And you always get that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, you always get that moment too where you're dying and you're like, why isn't my companion healing me?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing?
And there's a couple of reasons why. One is they if a mob is attacking them, they will sometimes not heal, right? Because they'll shoot the mob instead, which is counterintuitive, but they do. Another thing is sometimes if you look at their bar, you'll see all their healing abilities are on cooldown.
Right.
So, they can't heal you and you're being a jerk.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. They like
Yeah.
you were standing in fire. They blew all of their cooldowns and they're like, what else do you want me to do, dude?
So watch to see if something's shooting them and then shoot them yourself.
Right.
Or if something CC'd them or tried to CC them.
Yes. In which case, sometimes you can cleanse off a CC. There's some of those CCs, and stuns and stuff, can be cleansed off your companion.
And if you're at 50% health and they're at 20% health, they will heal themselves. And they'll prioritize whichever is lower, which is what they should be
Again,
doing.
real life.
Right.
Yeah.
It's triage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't heal if you're dead.
My tank classes, which are my Vanguard and my Power Tech that I have spec to tank, and I don't bother to swap out even if I'm doing heroics or something like that, or doing missions for Galactic Seasons. I will put my companions on DPS for those because my DPS is kind of slow. I can take the damage, I can soak the damage, and I'm not gonna die off of it. It's not gonna hurt me. So that tends to really speed things up when I do that. So that's nice.
One thing I've found that's helpful, and Max, you mentioned this on MFN, but if you have a tank companion, if you have a tank character and you have guard, use guard on your companion because it will lower their threat. So sometimes they'll get threat because they're healing you, and it will reduce their threat and keep it on you instead.
Right. Good point. And guard in PvE. No, guard in PvE doesn't reduce damage. Guard in PvP reduces damage. No, I forgot. What am I?
No, it does reduce damage, but it doesn't transfer damage. It only transfers damage from the tank, from you to the tank in PvP.
In PvP.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, I think it might not even do that anymore. Anyway.
So Force Chuckle is having memories about back when Treek, you used to be able to change Treek's role
mid-fight.
During combat.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. Like if she started to die, you could switch her to tank. I used to love
tank, switch over to heals and then back to DPS. Yeah. Like let her heal you and her back up and then switch her back to DPS. Treek used to be the companion of companions. Also Treek's and Treek will still do this.
Yeah.
I think I've got that sound here somewhere. I'm gonna have to look that up. But Treek's will still do this. It's the most fun when Treek does it. If you want to see all of Treek's abilities, do a duel with another character. Both of you have Treeks as companions out, and then have your Treek companion attack the other Treek companion and vice versa, and then just stand back. And this is a companion duel. The companions then will use all of their abilities on each other, and it's awesome and hilarious. Treek still has the ability when Treek leaps into combat, the sort of the engage from range. Mm-hmm. She pops out a hang glider, jumps into the air, and hang glides down into the face of the opposing character. It is awesome. So speaking of all this damage stuff and our companions doing damage and us doing damage, why don't you wrap us up, Seema, with our top tips on damage and then lining up the UI to do all of these things together.
This first one is kind of like goes hand in hand with knowing and finding out more about your class. But for both survival and damage, use your cooldowns. And that includes a heroic moment, but your class also has cooldowns that either allow you to attack faster or makes your DPS higher, makes you do higher damage. You can also, like we've already mentioned, stems. There's an additional thing you could use, adrenals, which is, adrenals are really in the world of min-maxing, but you could use them here, Solo Story, Flashpoints. Basically, they're like a stem that lasts for 15 seconds that will up your stats in a really big way for a short amount of time.
Yep. You have to watch which ones you use, because if you're in a bolster situation where, like this, I've got my Kyprax attack adrenal, it increases my power. I cannot be using those in a situation which is most of the operations these days where your power is capped.
Right.
It's not going to do anything.
Most every place, Flashpoints.
But if
planets,
I'm
everything.
doing Duxin, then it's useful and it works. In fact,
And this is kind of a big one. It's like kill the healers, interrupt, stun the healers first because they will make the fight last forever.
Poor healers.
So I know. But
no, that was a big thing on Vengeance, Spirit of Vengeance, was they would put the healers in the back behind barriers or around the corner.
And there'll be more than one of them.
Yes, and there are two of them, so they start healing each other while you're trying to take one down, and it's like, no!
But yeah, I mean, I even, like, to this day when I'm running, like, around in Black Hole and you do that last heroic and there's healers, even running around in the world in the Black Hole, there's healers out there. And it's going to make zero difference if they get their heal off. I still kill them first, and I still interrupt their heal if they don't die right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's just ingrained.
Yep.
And then the last one, which this might be a little counterintuitive, but it's what I do all the time too, is kill the little guys first. Kill the weaks, and then the strongs, and then the elite. In fact, ideally, if you can, CC the elite, then kill the littles, then kill the strong. And by then, this CC's up on the elite, and then kill them.
Yeah, that may be counterintuitive. People may not realize that the difference, the regulars and the strongs and the elites and the champions, the difference in damage that they do is much smaller difference between them. Like the regular mobs will still do a lot of damage, but they die really fast. So you can, like, 2 shots, you can take them out, and that cuts all of their damage out of the whole rest of the fight. Whereas if you're just like going after that champion and letting like 10 little, regular mobs just pound on you the whole time, you're taking like 10 times the damage that you would need to finish off that champion.
Yeah, exactly. It's, and that's where I love having AoE classes, because you can go in and just clean up the ads and you're still doing damage to the champions.
Do your dot spread, do all of that kind of thing and then even just single target down all of those little ones first. This is the same thing that we all do in operations. Apply those same techniques. The tank takes care of the boss, the ads pop up, we clear out the ads, we finish, we kill all the ads. We don't like just leave the ads to pound on us the rest of the fight while we try to kill the boss. No, we kill the ads, then we go back to the boss. Corruptor 0. There's like little ads, there's big ads. We kill the little ads, then we kill the healer ad. This is Corruptor 0 to a T. We kill the 2 healers, then we kill all the little ones, then we kill the 2 big ads, then we go back to Corruptor 0. Fight. More ads spawn, kill the healers, kill the little ones, kill the big ones, kill Corruptor 0. That's how you do it. So this last point, Seema, you outlined this one, and now I'm gonna maybe be embarrassed by my UI. So set up your UI for success. What is your key tips?
Okay,
here?
So we started out by saying if you have a debuff on you, cleanse it, because that'll reduce the damage. It'll help you in the fight. But the way the default UI is, it doesn't make it easy to see when you have a debuff on you. So the first thing I would do would be to make sure that I arrange my UI in a way that it's very obvious to me when I have a debuff. And so what I've done is I've scaled up my debuff so it's pretty large and it's right above my character portrait. That works for me. But you have to figure out what works for you. So I know right away when I have a debuff. And I can try to cleanse it. That's one thing. Also, part of your UI are key bindings, which we've mentioned this before, but put your interrupt, your stun, your cleanse, all the stuff that you don't use a lot probably, but put them in a key that you can easily get to, and then practice them so that they're just muscle memory to use them.
Yes. Yeah, when you're doing things solo, you're going to use many more abilities that you may not be using typically when you're running with a group. Here for my mercenary, I don't typically use my heals when I'm running with a group because Seema's healing me. When I'm running solo, I'm using all my heals. I'm using my responsive safeguards. I will purposefully not CC a big group. I will jump into the middle of them. I will AoE them and let them all pound on me with my responsive safeguards because that's doing damage to them. I've got all my abilities available to me that are useful, and using a lot of things that I will typically not be using in group content because other people fill those roles. So think about that. Your taunts, if you are a tank, like a power tech, and you're a DPS power tech, but you've got a taunt available to you, you might use that to take a mob off of your companion, for example. So all of these kinds of things, think about them and make sure they're on your bars and you know where they are and you know how to use them.
But I will say, if you make your UI so that it's obvious that when you get a debuff, that will serve you in group content as well as solo. Sorry, Ted, what were you going to say?
No, just a tip for people that are new to SWTOR. Max, on your hotbar near the first key, can you hit that little plus? No, close that. The one that brings up the extended hotbars. Sorry, I was looking at the Twitch channel, so I don't know if you. But there's a way to get the extra hotbars that some people don't know about.
So I've got them all already here, expanded out in the. So there's a couple things you can do. You can have extra quick slot bars that you can put as part of your main bar, but I've got all my bars spread out on the screen already. I've got two of them that are stacked up on the sides here. I've got the vertical bars down the sides, and then this is different. You can even swap. You can have a custom interface for when you're doing things solo versus when you're doing things with a group, and switch in between them rapidly. So that's what this little plus is on the left side of your UI of your top hotbar. You can switch between custom interfaces and say I wanted to, I've got one here. I think it's just this one. It just makes everything smaller when I'm like recording video. But I can, if I go to solo and I've got a preferred layout for when I'm doing things solo, I might want to customize my UI, and that's you hit escape and you go to interface editor, and you're gonna like change the scaling or move things around, or move your companion bar into the middle of the screen so you can see what they're doing more often if you're gonna have more control. Don't be afraid to use your interface editor to best effect and allow it to be different than what you do in a group. Like if you're a healer, you're gonna have your operations frames that are gonna be sort of front and center, and they're gonna be really big. But maybe if you're going solo, you're gonna push that stuff off to the side or not worry about it. That's what that kind of interface customization that Seema's talking about is key.
Sometimes too, what I do is I'll take abilities that I'm not used to the cooldown and how long it takes yet. I will put them by themselves on their own bar and then make the bar really big, but then make the bar one icon long, and they'll have a big old icon with that thing counting down its cooldown so I can learn how to use it, get the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
One thing I've done, and this is, I've tried to do this across the characters, everything's in the same.
Yes.
I use like the first, 1 through 0 on the hotbar as my rotation buttons. Like this should be the buttons that I'm doing for my rotation for single target. And then the ones below that are my AoE, if I need to switch to an AoE build, I use that. And then I have, I basically have a section of the hotbar, like where my stunts and interrupts are, where my cooldowns are for heroic moment and that sort of thing, and then I have my heals and other things on in a different section. But it's the same for every character. Like regardless, I know I look over to the like Max has those bars with the 3 missiles on it. That's where all my heals are, and my companion revive and stuff like that. That's all the way to the right. That set of 10 is my that set of 12, that's my healing companion, stuff like that.
But where's your log mount? I mean, I think that's we're missing some of the key
You
abilities.
you need a special button for the log mount.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh,
But no,
this.
I have a button for turtle.
Yes, I agree.
but
You
but
need the turtle
it
button.
really helps, especially if you play a lot of different characters.
Yes.
Even if the abilities aren't going to be the same, but if you know at least what section to look into, like where are my interrupts? Oh, they're always on these 3 buttons. You're generally a lot better.
No, I completely agree. And I said at the start that I set up my sniper and my gunslinger for virulence and dirty fighting. My everything is for me. We've talked about this quite a bit before. My abilities are typically centered around the 4 key, and I use the number keys and the F keys. The dots typically go on F2 and F3 to sort of set up, lay down the rotation. The spammable goes on the 4 key, and then the 3 key and the 2 key are, cooldown spammables as part of the rotation. I can forget how a class works completely. And because I did just what you said, I typically set them up the same way. I can go to any class and sort of like do my merc rotation on an assassin, and it kind of works because I dot or this long cooldown ability, like where I've got Electronet, it does something kind of like that. That's fine. And 4 is my spammable, and it works.
Right. I do the same thing. Like,
bam.
If I have a channeled heal, it's on this key. If it's a big nuke, it's on this key. And then across characters, I always have cleanse, interrupt, stun on the same key. Because I personally do not handle change well. So I like to have things that I can just rely on as being the same all the time, so that other little things can change around.
Yep. And if one tip, if you're trying to match characters like your lightning sword to your Jedi Sage because they're the same advanced class, Parsley.io has the map of this is your Imperial character, your Republic character, or you can flip it and vice versa. And it has all the icons, and it tells you which are your abilities, which are your passives, which are your selectable ones in your talent tree, the whole thing. So you can match it up very easily.
That's nice. That is nice. I think Tabitha in our guild has a nice spreadsheet that she created, which is very cool as well. But yes, here's the utility. Oh, this is nice. I could have used this morning.
Right.
Dang
That's what
it.
I was like. Yeah, she linked it. I think she actually linked this in the thing. But yeah, see, there's all your utility passives, and then balance skills, balance passives.
The utilities was the big problem because I don't know. I mean, the utilities could have been named the same thing. Immersion versus egress. Why is that not just? I mean, that at least the icon is the same thing.
Here. I kind of get it though, because like extricate. Well, I guess that's an ability. Extricate versus rescue. Like
that
feels not going to rescue anyone.
But immersion versus egress.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No, Max, I lived on this page setting up the 2 characters because, before I was doing like, okay, I'll take a snapshot of the heart. Oh, what is that icon? What is that ability? Where is that?
Yeah, exactly.
So no, and that will do it for all the advanced classes. So it's really helpful.
Okay. Last comment, because I know we're going long. When I first started thinking about doing this topic, one of the things I had planned on using it for, which I cannot, and that's what I wanted to clarify, I was hoping I would be able to, because I hate people apparently, and I'm antisocial, I was hoping I was going to be able to solo my Galactic Seasons objectives related to doing Flashpoints. So there's a weekly, and it's only weeklies. There's no dailies associated with Flashpoints, but there's the weekly to do 3 Flashpoints. Unfortunately, they're vet mode Flashpoints, and you must use the group finder. Thank you to Zamzam and MMObits.com that confirmed. Zamzam's got a really nice guide up for all of Galactic Seasons, what all the objectives are, for confirming that for me. So now I mean, and I have up to this point for the 3 weeks so far. Which I did once. If I get the Flashpoints, I just skip it. I don't like to, because I do a lot of PvP and GSF anyway. The Flashpoints is my least favorite, so I skip that one. So unfortunately, that's not going to help for that. It does help if you're trying to go through achievements. You can be doing solo vet mode flashpoints just to knock it out, just to check it off the list in your achievement list. It helps to just be doing some, all of the story content that we talked about that you want to be able to get through. All of these kinds of tips work for that. And sometimes it can help for some of the solo things you might want to be doing. Just if you wanted to quickly run, say, Hammer Station vet mode and get a little bit of extra 306 gear because you want to be gearing out an alt or something like that. We all have, in fact, quite a few of us were using solo vet mode flashpoints at the launch of 6.0 to get our first set of 306 gear when we were in there in the 300 range, and we still wanted to be getting pieces off of bosses. So lots of reasons to use these tips. The core reason that we really wanted to talk about it was to help people get through the story content, especially Spirit of Vengeance and Secrets of the Enclave, the Dark Descent, or whatever the actual Flashpoint name is. But it's news you can use for any of the story content in general as well, and even in things like heroic dailies. So hopefully that's useful to everyone. And I certainly very much appreciate Tetsemi. Thank you very much for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
This has been quite fun. As we wrap up here in our EPC 381, man, our 381 droid is ready to broadcast this out. Where can we find you, Tetsemi? What would you like to tell people about where they should be tracking you down?
If you want to find me, anything AIE related, just join the AIE Discord, aie-guild.info/Discord. If you want to follow me, I'm also on Twitter. I'm at Ivory Tiger on Twitter.
These are the right answers, Tetsemi. Thank you very much. AIE-guild.org, Discord link in the upper right, or as Tetsemi said, there's even a direct link you could give to someone to get right to the Discord join. That is why we do this show. We're hoping that we can get people like you listening right now to come and play with us. In fact, I was DMing with someone who is an officer in another guild, but might want to do a little progression content with us today. That was really cool to hear. They're a listener to the show. And they said, I finally joined your Discord. I wanted to just chime in and say hi. That is awesome. That's why we're here. Starforge, Imperial, and Republic. Anytime, jump in that Discord, say hi to Tetsemi or Seema or myself. We would love to have you. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.
Have a great one.